Hello, Laura Donnelly here from Dancing with Ease, Body Brain Balance, and we have another episode of The Healing Path. And I'm very, very excited that my friend Jane will be able to come back and share with us some ways to use your body to give you information when you want to make intuitive decisions, and how an intuitive decision, what it is, in case you didn't have a definition for yourself, and when and why you might want to use this, and the benefits of it, of using intuitive decision making for things you need to do. So, in case you haven't seen The Healing Path before, this is an ongoing video series, and pretty soon it will be also available in podcast. And the purpose is to share different healing modalities, introduce you to people who are working in various areas of healing. And it's just a wonderful thing for me to be able to connect with people who are working in healing in so many different ways, and that the whole purpose of healing is for us to move from where we are to someplace a little better. If we're in pain, to be having less pain. If we're stressed, to being less stressed. And the main underlying theme that comes through with all of my guests is that healing begins in ourselves. It's an internal decision to change, and then it ripples out, and it affects us, and it affects the people we know, and it even affects people we don't know. And the method of healing you choose, this will be up to you. But that decision is kind of the first step on the path. So I'll bring Jane back on to the screen, and she will be able to tell you a little bit about her history, and then we'll just have a conversation. If you want to ask a question, and you might have to give StreamYard permission to show your question to us, we'll answer it. So here we go. Hey, Jane.
Hey, Laura. I'm delighted to be back.
Isn't it fun? And I don't know. I mean, I could talk about this stuff all day long.
I know, me too.
And when I make a friendship based on healing, it's good for me and it's good for the other person. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing about this work that I really love, is that when I take care of me and you take care of you,
yes,
we are able to meet together as our whole selves. And instead of I ought to be person, or I'm exhausted, but I'm showing up because I said I would, any of those, those things. And sometimes we make those kinds of decisions because of whatever. We'll go into that. Why don't you share with people where you are, what you do, anything you want to share that you would like people to know about you?
Okay. I'm based in Seattle, so I'm a West Coast girl, although I originally grew up in Pennsylvania. So I'm just kind of moving, and I spent 20 years in the Midwest. So I'm just like making my way across, and Hawaii might be next. We'll see. That'd be kind of cool. Let's see. I'm a therapist and a coach and a speaker and an author. So I'm just keep adding things to my list of what I do. And it's interesting. You're talking about the healing, and I'm moving more from the therapy model to the coaching model, because what I've noticed is when people do what is commonly called a therapy, and I realize my therapy has been more coaching the more I learn about it. Like therapy, many people think of it as an expert fixing someone who's broken, right? And I've never approached it that way. Like, when we are healing, in my mind, it is us becoming more in touch with who we already are, who we've always been, but we put up these walls and these shields and these protectors because we've been hurt in the past. So for me, what my understanding of coaching, and I'm sure everybody has a different definition, is it's kind of meeting together and helping people, as you said, take those steps to be more whole. Actually, to connect more with our wholeness. I think we're always whole. It's just that we don't see it because we're all in our little boxes of like, I'm scared and I can't be seen kind of thing.
Or I shouldn't do this, or it's selfish to do
Yes.
this other thing.
Oh my goodness.
And something I teach in my work is my friend Mio Morales coined this term, magnanimous selfishness.
Oh, I love that.
Is that beautiful?
Yes.
And this is, magnanimous is giant, and but it's also giving. It's generous.
Yep.
And the thing is, when I take care of myself, there's a way of allowing myself to be that gives the other person I'm with permission to be who they are.
Mm-hmm. And don't you notice when you've do a really good job or even an okay job of taking care of yourself, nourishing yourself, you just naturally want to give more? But it's from a place of fullness versus I'm on my last ounce of energy, but here it's yours. Right.
Right. And I think a lot of times people who work in healing, people who work in healthcare, people who are teachers, parents, they are kind of put in a situation where they are conditioned or told or taught that
Mhm.
somebody else's needs supersede theirs.
Always come first.
And like in an emergency room, well, let's look at this. The patient that's wheeled in is, they need emergency care immediately.
Yeah.
But if the doctor is having a heart attack, which could happen, right? I mean, because that's a stressful situation. And the doctor doesn't take care of themselves, how, they might start to operate on the person in the emergency room and just fall over. And then what? Now, that's a kind of an extreme story.
But it makes the point, Laura.
And everyone kind of really quotes that thing and I'm a little tired of it, but I think we can talk about how it really plays out. This, put on your own oxygen mask first.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So it's the same thing. If you're dying, how are you going to help your small child get out of the airplane?
Yeah.
If you weren't ready to move, kick out the window or the door, I always love to sit by the exit door. I have to know if something happens, I can get out of the Not a control freak, no. But how gently, it doesn't have to be, all for me.
Right.
This taking care of ourselves can just be a simple question. Do I need to answer this phone call right now? Or do I need 5 more minutes before I can call somebody back? That very quiet thing is self-care.
Yep. Little things like that, and they add up. They add up.
And I'm thinking now, I'm remembering a situation where I'm kind of default, literally honest, right? So I had a job and I was in a campus and way over from a lot of the places I had to go to if I had a meeting or something like that. And I would inform my supervisor that I had a meeting, say, at 3:15. And he would call at 3:10 with things before the end, things he needed to communicate to me before the end of the day. Then I would be late for the meeting, or he'd call at 3. But he would call invariably when I needed to be leaving.
Huh.
And so my supervisor, so I'm not saying, I gotta go now.
Right.
It's for the department. What I have to do is for the department. So it's for you. So I need to go, I somehow couldn't do that.
Right. Because you were taught that it's the supervisor, so his needs come first.
Right. And so then I would be late to these meetings, and it's just like, but then one time my friend said to me, well, just tell him that your meeting is at 2:45.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but that's lying. They said, no, I know. See, I cannot lie. I'm never going to lie. Right. And so she said, no, this is working with the world as it is.
Yeah.
And what happens is when you need to leave, when you're gone from the office, this gives your supervisor stress. And so,
Mm.
anticipating your absence, he comes up with all these things that are important to him to communicate to you. Therefore, if you tell him that your meeting starts 30 minutes before it starts, he will call you 45 minutes before your
Mhm.
meeting starts. You can talk to him in a calm way. You can close your office and have time to get to the meeting.
Nice.
And I was just like, it probably took me 2 months to start to implement that. And so for all kinds of reasons, like you said, I'm conditioned to think that my supervisor's needs are more immediate than mine. And so I need to put mine on the shelf and deal with his first.
Mhm.
And no matter how uncomfortable that made me or my body, I kept doing it.
Right.
And I laughed the first time she told me to just tell him my meeting was earlier. It just made me laugh. I'm like, well, how easy would that be?
Right.
Because he's not really looking at my calendar. He's not spying on me, and he wasn't really aware of this. Oh, she's going to be gone. I forgot to tell her that. I forget it.
Or maybe for him, he's always been that way.
Right. And so it doesn't seem unusual.
Yeah. Or for him, he would say, "Oh, my meeting's at 3 o'clock," because that's his meeting starts when he leaves to the meeting. Like, who knows what he was thinking?
Right. And so he didn't. Yeah. So he was assuming that I communicated the same way he did. Okay,
Maybe.
that's a key piece of.
Yeah, this is what we do, isn't it?
Because I think this, everybody thinks this, right?
Right.
This is normal. And so how in that situation, if I had come to you with this frustration, which was a building frustration,
Mhm.
how would you use your body test method to have helped me make an intuitive decision?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's a great question. And that is a great question because what you brought up is you're a literal truth teller, right? So for you, lying actually brings up more anxiety. It may get you out of the office sooner, but you bring your anxiety with you because you're like, oh my God, I lied, right?
Right.
And what I love about our intuition is it's always our highest good. So it takes, our integrity, our values are part of the intuitive process, right? Because it's our intuition, not like my sister's intuition, who has different, she has different values than I do. She's a different source of integrity. So the one I developed because it just works better for my body. And almost everybody I show it to, their body seems to respond in a way they can easily read. So this is how I do it. I stand up loosely with my arms loose and my legs loose. And first of all, when I first started doing it, I tested what my no is and what my yes is. And when I give this to any clients, I have them say, first of all, stand loosely and then say, my name is, and then whatever their name is. And then notice what their body does. Some people move forward, some people move back, some people feel lighter, some people feel more grounded. Like everybody responds differently to their yes. And then once they know what that is, then I say, now say my name is like a name, not their name. And then so they say that, and then they notice how their body responds to that. And what I notice a lot is people say, my name is, like for me, my name is Jane. And then they go, I'm not noticing anything. I'm like, okay, great. Then say the no. And then they notice something. And then I'm saying, and then say, my name is Jane again. And then they notice
Ah,
what their
in
body's doing.
in relationship to the definite no. Like if I said my name is Bill, which is my brother's name, obviously not my name, but
Right. Yeah.
it actually, I felt my voice get tight
Yeah.
because it wasn't true.
It wasn't true for you. Now for Bill, voices aren't going to get tight. It's like, well, yeah, of course. Because our bodies relax when we're telling the truth. I think when we are in our integrity, in alignment, saying what is our truth, we expand, we relax and expand. That's what I notice most people experience, some form of relaxation or expansion. And there's some force of contraction when we're saying what is not true for us. So once they establish what their yes and no is, and when people start it, I say, every time you do it, just test what your yes and no is. And then once you find it's consistent, which it almost always is after a while, then you don't need to test anymore. Like I've been doing this for 25 years. I don't test my yes and no anymore. It's solid, right? For me, I lean forward for yes and backward for no. So then I would have had you say, it's for my, and I always ask for my highest good or for the highest good, because this is my opinion, my theory, my belief. If it's for my highest good, it's for everyone's highest good. Because somebody is really screwed by my highest good, it's like, or by what I do, it's not for my highest good either. Because I don't want to go around screwing people, right? So I ask for my highest good. So is it for my highest good to tell my boss I'm leaving 15 minutes, or to tell him the meeting is 15 minutes early? And then see what your body says.
No, just even when you said that, because I was just remembering, I felt my shoulders drop. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Then this solves both our problems.
Yeah.
Without confronting the issue.
Right.
I don't have to say to them, I'm so mad at you. Every time I have a meeting, you call me right before I have to leave to get there. I'm always late. I hate this. I don't have to say any of that. It becomes irrelevant when we listen and trust our bodies.
Yes. And then we take the action that is for our highest good and therefore everybody's highest good.
And we don't have to explain it. Now, if somebody's okay, so now then if somebody says, well, I saw so-and-so and they weren't going to that meeting and they said it didn't start till any time after. Why did you tell me that? Then I might tell him the truth.
Yeah, because I need to leave at 3 to make the 3:15 movie. So I'm on, or the meeting. So I'm unavailable starting at 3. That's why. Like, just say what is true.
Yeah. And not the whole history, not everything that went wrong before.
So here's the thing. I'm so glad you brought that up. One of my little bandwagons I go on is when we give people reasons, we're subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, asking for their permission for what we want to do.
Oh, right. Trying to convince them to say, yes, do this because I gave you all these logical reasons.
Exactly. So it's okay. You're doing what you do. Like, no, we don't need their okay. We're doing it because it's for our highest good. And that's enough. They can disagree or they can agree, but it's still what we are choosing for ourselves. And they get to disagree. Like, one of the things, especially people pleasers like me, want is, I want to do what I want, what's for my highest good, and I don't want you to be angry about it. Right? That's not really fair. People get to be angry.
Well, no. And see, and then if you do your test on yourself, probably it's sincere that you don't want people to be angry. But then you can fine tune, like, well, if is it right for me to give in on this point?
Right is a tricky word.
To avoid the anger.
It's a tricky word, right? Because who decides what's right?
Okay, then good. So is it for my highest good?
Yeah.
To acquiesce in this situation.
And if it is, do that.
That would be useful.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, I might want to get across the street to the coffee shop. But, is it my highest good in the middle of a city to cross in the middle of the block?
Right.
Now, if it's a one-way street and it's New York, no problem.
Right. I know. You can adjust to get across is the middle of the street. Right.
If it's Tucson, which has like streets that are 3 on one side and 3 on the other, and everybody's going all the time. Okay, probably not.
Yeah.
But my body will know that.
Your body will know that.
It will know that this situation is safe and this situation is unsafe.
Yes.
So now I would think, now tell me if this is true or not, but I would think if people are new to this, listening to their body say yes and their body say no, then maybe they should, like your name, which is really clear, a simple yes and no question, that it would probably be good to start with a few simple things.
Yeah, when I started, like when I first started learning to listen to my intuition, I was literally writing my dissertation for my PhD. So I was in complete head mode. Body didn't really exist. You can't, as a grad student, you just kind of study and then go to sleep and then work a lot and then eat a bit and then study. Like you don't really listen to your body, or at least I didn't. I didn't do it super. I was in my head. If my head said it was right, then I did it, right? So I was completely in, mind is king territory.
Sorry, PhD, that's what it is, right?
It really is. And so, but I also knew that like half my fellow grad students and I were on anti-anxiety and antidepressants. There was infighting in the department. There was some unhealth going on. And I thought, I'm in one of the top schools in my country. And the theory itself is not working for health, right? So for some reason, I don't know why, but I'm like, well, maybe let's try intuition to see what that does. But because I was so in my head, if I did intuition, I literally, because I was also, the DSM, which is our the psychological diagnosis thing. I was like, I'm schizophrenic, right? If I'm listening to this information, which is not logical sense, and it's just kind of out of nowhere, like my body's leaning, what science is behind that, right? This is where my brain was. So I did it for very small things. Like I was walking home from school and I could turn right, right, left, a mirror image, or go straight often. And so I would just test. Would it be for my highest good to turn right, left, or go straight? Like it didn't really matter. Probably nothing huge was going to happen differently if I went left, right, or straight at one block or another. So what it did though, or I would say, would it be for my highest good to eat this apple or this orange? And I just kept doing it and nothing bad happened. So my ego was like, oh, well, this doesn't seem so dangerous. Like nothing really huge is happening. So I think this is safe. So I just did it with a lot of little things. I remember one time I was deciding what cheese to buy, right? But I was playing with it. So it became familiar. And the ego is much more okay with what is familiar than something new. So then I started doing, what car to buy. And here's a funny story. I've never, ever, ever regretted listening to my intuition. For the car, I didn't listen to my intuition. I got the used Lexus with the sunroof and the leather. I was a grad student, right? So I had to get a really old Lexus. 6 months later, I was selling it because my mechanic said, you've got an explosion hazard here in your car. And I'm just like, my intuition told me to buy the really simple newer Honda, but I didn't listen to that, right? So I love that experience because it was just such a strong, Jane, this is why it's helpful to listen to your intuition, because stuff like this happens when you listen to your ego of, I want the really nice car, not the super simple, stripped down car, right? So we just step it up. And now I will literally use it for anything. And I trust it that much. It's been 25 years, but I trust it that much. I say, if it's for my highest good, okay, I believe it and I'll act. And here's the really cool thing. I don't know about your listeners, but I used to question my decisions constantly. Like even after they were made.
Second guessing. Should I have done this? Should I have done that? What if I had done X, Y, and Z?
Exactly. And asking my intuition kind of cuts that. I don't second guess anymore. I'm like, well, I made the decision. I made it on my intuition. We'll see what happens. I'll be fine.
Well, this brings up another point, that sometimes for my highest good isn't the simplest or easiest thing.
Right.
And giving over to that highest good is this idea that we're on a journey, we're learning. There's things that we need to do and experience in order to really learn something.
It helps us grow.
And so So the Lexus was one way of learning.
Yeah, it really helped me trust my intuition more.
Oh, I'm every time I don't trust it. Well, actually, I almost never don't trust it now. Isn't that
Right.
funny? Almost never don't. There would probably be a lot of too many negatives in one sentence. But it's always so clear after the fact.
Yeah.
You know, I actually got my passport stolen in when I was in Europe for 6 months because I
Wow.
had I had a room, an office room that I shared with somebody, and it was near the front of the house, and a lot of times the desks got all kind of messed up and everything. But we were having people over for dinner, and so I spent the time and cleaned up the desk. It looked really nice. And I had made this little purse. Oh, it was red, okay, and it had a fancy button on it to close it. Had my passport and my first payment for an art project I had done. And I stacked up all the books in decreasing height, and I put my purse right on top. It looked so pretty. And as soon as I set it there, I hear this little voice in my head that says, "Take this to your room and put it in the drawer."
Ah.
And I'm like, "It looks so pretty there." And it was so pretty there, not there the next day. Because it looked so pretty there that somebody else saw it and said, "Oh, check this out."
Wow.
But I learned how to get a passport in a foreign country.
Mhm.
That's knowledge. Could I have missed that adventure? Maybe. But I was in Italy, and I had no plans to go to Florence, but that was the only place to get a replacement passport. So I
Oh,
had a whole adventure I wouldn't have had.
nice.
And I said to myself, this is, this is it. I'm not ignoring
Right.
that little voice again.
Right.
And it's different. This little test is really good because sometimes you're out on a hike and there's a big wash and there's something on the other side, a tree or something. I want to sit under that tree, and you think, I'm going to go right that way. It would be good right then to do the little test,
Yeah.
because sometimes your energy looks at something and it's attractive and you feel drawn towards it, but that's not my intuition speaking.
Not necessarily. Yeah.
And so if I say is and then I might do the path, right? Is, because down and up is a challenging
Hmm.
path, and maybe there's a stream at the bottom and I could get down to the bottom and I can't get across, right?
Right. Right.
So if I want to go to that tree, which is okay, you know is the route over the top of the hill
Yeah.
the route, the best, the highest good route? Is straight as the crow flies, which I can't fly like a crow. And so that's an interesting thing, which is why I love what you said, is to do this like with simple things, like at the grocery store. Do I
Mhm.
want Parmesan cheese or camembert?
Yeah.
What's it going to be for my highest good? What's going to nourish me? Sometimes I do this in front of the refrigerator.
Hmm.
Open the door, and do I want iced tea or kombucha? How do I not know what I want? Sometimes I don't know, but
I
my
know.
body
Right?
knows.
Yeah.
So when you do this, have you had clients and people you work with come back and tell you success stories of using this process?
Um, that's a great question. My mind totally went blank with that. They don't tell me success stories so much as they talk about increased trust in their decisions,
Ah,
right? That they don't come like, oh, this one time it was, but they just talk about how they use it and they're calmer. They use it and they
oh.
trust in themselves more. So they talk about the reduced stress that comes with it versus the individual results.
Well, because sometimes I put, like I have, if I'm stuck in my head, I have to write everything down.
Yeah.
You know, what are the pros? What are the cons? How could And that's a okay. Sometimes I tell people to do that. And sometimes I Oh, here's one I do. Now, this would be funny because I do this thing with scanning with ease, which is this thing where your body comes back to itself really in itself. So I said, put the one decision on one wall and the other decision on the other wall that you want to do. Should I do A or should I do B? And then take care of yourself, feel how you feel, and then look at decision A and what happens to you.
Oh, yeah.
Does your body get tight? Just record that.
Mm-hmm.
Back to neutral, chill out. Look at decision B. If your body also gets tight at decision B, you're in this place where neither of these is a good choice.
Right. Not them.
And so then it's like, oh man, back to the drawing board. But normally, like your body will either lean towards one, pull away from one. And if you're listening to your body, like you talked about, like, and this intuition thing, it's a really great way to invite your body to communicate with you.
Yeah. Right. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Well, it uses a different language, and our brain functions and I've taught my brain to think in words. It first shows me pictures. And so then I have to like turn those pictures into words because I can't do the Vulcan mind meld. Darn.
Right. I know. Just okay. Ready? Right.
This picture. Well, what a beautiful picture. Now I just had this picture of everybody doing the yes and the no, and then people choosing, right? Mm-hmm. Choosing to think that way, and include your body in the decision. And we have all these things we say, right? Trust your gut.
Mm-hmm.
Also, my hair stands on end occasionally if I happen to be heading into a very dangerous place. The hairs on the back of my neck go up, and if it's really bad, the hairs on my arms stand up. And I'm like, okay, I got it. We're exiting right now.
Right. So our body is developed. Our nervous system is developed to take more information from our body than our brain. Like in the nervous system neural pathways, 20% directionally go from the brain to the body, 80% go from the body to our brain. So we are literally made to get more information from our body. But since we spend all our time up here, look at all the information. Like you just said, my skin on my, the hair stands up, the hair stands up. Your body's like, Laura, now leave, right? Which is a lot faster than all those words. It's like hair's up, gone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a more direct communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think sometimes people are taught to distrust their intuition.
Absolutely. That we're taught to distrust our body.
Yeah. Which is a big sadness for me in the world. And for people who are more inclined to trust their body, in order to have success in school, they have to teach themselves to do this other kind of thinking.
Yeah.
See my hand? And so for me, I did that and I did it well. And so then I latched onto it pretty hard because it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy way for me to do this. But once I put all the pieces together, I got this. And then it kind of turned into a thing. Yeah. And a solid construct. It turned into a solid construct. And I had to think this way and act this way and do this. And there wasn't the space. And so what do you, besides being in graduate school and looking around and saying, like, because I'm assuming you were going for your degree in healing, helping, therapeutic, some kind of healing.
Marriage and family therapy and family social science.
Well, which is supposed to be giving you information in order to put you in a space to help other people.
Yeah. Yeah. It was for a social and familial health.
And so then what I would what you said that I heard was that you looked around and you saw that your
Yeah.
fellow graduate students and even the faculty were
Yes.
not healthy and not happy and not able to somehow put in place
Hmm.
the concepts that they were learning.
Yeah.
And so then you did something different, which I think is one of the keys to real learning, is you looked at things differently.
Hmm.
You and so our brain, our ego part of our brain, has a high and important function, and it's valuable.
Hmm.
It's just not, for me, it's not the first thing in every situation.
Yeah.
Like you said, the hair comes up, go. That's
Yeah.
so much faster than going, nothing looks bad here.
I
Why
know.
do I feel like I need to leave? And I go into the whole brain logic thing. I can sort that out later.
Right. After I'm gone. Right.
I get to a new safe place. I can sort that out.
Mhm. Yeah. One time I walk in a local park, which is huge and I love it. And I will frequently walk at dusk, especially during the winter, because I'm done with work and I'm like going out there before it's pitch black. But a lot of women won't go because, you're alone out
Walking alone in the wilderness.
there. Yeah, exactly. But I've learned to trust my intuition so much that I'm like, if I feel I'm going to be safe, chances are I'm safe. So one time, and I've never had anything happen, and I've been doing it for 20 years now. But one time I went out there and it was dusk and I heard run. And I'm like, I looked around. I didn't see a soul, but I heard run. So I'm like, well, okay. So I trust my intuition. So I literally ran out of the park. I still don't know if there was anything there, but it is because I did listen to it that I trust myself to go when it's dusk. Because if I do get a message of danger, I'll listen to it and not go, there's nothing here. What am I doing? And I could be walking into something, right?
Right.
So it is trusting ourselves to listen when we get that message of, I know it doesn't make sense, but do something different, like right now. And that's part of what I think helps keep us safe and take more. For me, like I would be this is not true for all people. I would be a very unhappy person if I couldn't go to my park and be in nature multiple times a week. I would be much more stressed. So for me, the potential of something happening is like, it's worth it for me to go out there and feed my soul and my body. And with my intuition on board, it doesn't really feel like a risk. But that's for everybody to decide for themselves. Some people are like, yeah, that's just not something I'm willing to do. I'm like, great, you do you. But we each get to find for ourselves what is worth the stretch and what does not feel worth the stretch.
And what is not worth the stretch today might be worth the stretch in 5 days,
Right.
because it's a different time. It's a different, your body's different. 5 days different, it's different.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes I will ask my intuition a question and then the next day I'll get a different answer. I'm like, it's because I am different. It's a different situation now than the last time I asked. And so that doesn't really bother me.
No, you're talking about the voice, and I hear the voice. And did I want to say that out loud? Yes, I hear things sometimes. But once, when I was in 5th grade, it makes you 10, 9, 10, 10. I was at a friend's house. A whole bunch of us were there. They're like, okay, we're gonna go upstairs and go out the window and jump off the roof. And I'm like, what? And we do it all the time. We do it all the time. We all go out there, and they all jump off before me, and I'm standing there, and I hear this voice that says, don't do this. You will break your foot.
Mm.
And then at age 10, right? I have an ego. And it will not let me appear to be frightened
Right.
and go back in the house. Climb back in the window and go down the stairs. I jump off and I hear that snap inside the blood bone snapped, and then your bones are hollow, right? So that you can actually hear the pop of the bone inside your ear.
Wow, really?
Uh-huh.
I did not know that.
Yeah. See, I learned something, right?
Right.
I think it depends on, like if you're in a car accident, there's so much other noise you wouldn't be able to hear this.
You wouldn't be able
But there wasn't anything else going on except me landing on the ground, and then I felt so stupid for jumping off the roof. I lied to my mom. And I told her I jumped out of a tree. Because, jumping out of a tree was a fine thing, right? Jumping off a roof was a stupid thing. And, but unbeknownst to me, the parents had called because they all told everybody that I broke my foot. And because parents talk to parents,
Yeah, right.
But my mom and we pretended for about 30 years.
Really?
Yes. Wow. And at some point, like I was 35, 38, 40 something, she goes, when you jump off the roof. And I said, how did you know that? Because I guess default honesty wasn't always my thing.
Right. Apparently.
But is it the first time? That's kind of the first time I remember like a safety information.
Yeah.
And so, and like you said, you were in this thing and you're starting to listen to your intuition, and your ego's first thing is, dude, no, don't do this. You're schizophrenic. If you hear voices in your head, you're schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes your body has to use words because we are slow.
Yeah.
And, and it might have been sending you some other signals, but what got through to you was run.
Yep.
So I think it's an adventure too. And if we look at our body as our partner,
yeah,
and it is our home, it holds our ego, it's not in opposition. It's in concert with. And when we can recognize the strengths of the brain and the strengths of the body, and allow each of those space,
right,
to do what they do best.
Like the useful tool for the appropriate situation versus my ego is a hammer, so I'm going to use it for everything.
Right. Well, I think that was pretty fun. It's always so fun to talk to you.
Yay. Can I give your listeners, for people who are new to listen to their body, I've got a little PDF and instructions and a little video if they want to get something to help them with this, if they're new to it and want extra support. If they go to everydaylove.me/body test, then if they give their email, it'll be sent to them, and they'll just get like something to follow. Because when we're doing something new, our ego says, am I doing this right? Is this right? So it just helps to have a little extra support with that.
Like a little guidance and say, yes, if this happens, cool. If this happens, maybe you want to tweak your process a little bit, whatever. I will definitely put that in the comments.
Awesome.
And I might have meant to, I might have forgotten something because I have a list, but oh darn, I have to look at my checklist.
Right. Right. I do that
thing. I'm like, did I put that connect with Jane on the description? Oh no. But I'll add it. What's really lovely about everything is it can be added. You can add it, and now people will listen and they'll say, oh, I really want to know more about that. So I will for sure put it in the comments for each of the videos. And if you have questions or thoughts or things you would like to share, put those in there. And Jane is in the Healing Path group. So if you're in that group, that's a place to do more private questions. If if you post it on my Facebook page, it's fine. But who knows who could see it on there because
Right.
it's
Yeah.
Facebook after all. And I will also have her email in there in case you want to
Great.
say something. And I thank you so much for your time and
Yay.
for sharing all these laughs and this. And I think like what happens, what I notice about you is every time you talk about trusting your intuition, you get so joyful.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You smile and you're like,
Yeah.
because your whole self is working together.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Nice point. There's less, division, internal division, whether it's internal or external, doesn't feel good. Right. So when we can come together, be whole, be collaborative, we're just happier campers, whether individually, internally, or societally.
I think so. So thank you so much, Jane. And I'll talk to you again soon because we always have a great time.
Yes, we do.
And so we'll see everybody else next time. Take care.